Hi everybody, greetings to you, peace and love. I greet you in peace and love on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. I greet you all in peace and love. Let's continue our story that I've been telling y'all about Miss Jezebel, the Ghanian wizard, and a lady from Trinidad by the name of Nefertiti. So in part 6, I told y'all about the big house that the wizard got after his wife left. He bought a big house, and he said that big house was for Miss Nefertiti and Miss Nefertiti children. Now bear in mind, if you've been keeping up, let me give you a recap for those who have not been keeping up. Mr. Wizzard from Ghana was not meant to be in a relationship with Miss Nefertiti. He was assigned, he was paid and assigned to work his witchcraft on Miss Nefertiti. Get rid of her. But knowing he's a wizard, they always have to check the victim up. You see, these wizards and these witches, they don't watch life like normal people watch life. They access you spiritually when they get hold of their victims, even for the people who go to the witches and the wizards for help. When they get hold of their victims, the first thing the witch is going to do is to scan out the victim to see what good you have in you that is of benefit to them, that they can steal from you. So this was the situation with Mr. Wizard from Ghana. At the time, the wizard from Ghana had a lot of friends, but his friends, all of his friends had children. And the wizard from Ghana, he had no children at that time. So he realized Miss Nefertiti was a fruitful woman. So he was intending to get the child of Miss Nefertiti, send the child to Ghana, and continue getting rid of Miss Nefertiti. He saw some good qualities in Miss Nefertiti. He said to Miss Nefertiti one day, he looked at Miss Nefertiti and he said to Miss Nefertiti, I need to have a bond with you for life. Now, a wizard is not going to bond to anybody that he cannot suck dry. He needs to see that you are fruitful and there is something in you that he can suck on and live on, you know. So obviously the wizard, he saw greatness, blessings, stuff that he can devour from Mrs. Nefertiti. So back to the big house that he bought now. Before we get to the big house, y'all know the stories is so heavy and it's so much. So it could get a bit mixed up. But before we get to the big house, let's get back to the other house where the wife was and Nefertiti was and the children and the wizard and the Tokoloshe cat. Now, he was working on the wife spiritually, and because he was working on the wife spiritually and he was married to the wife had no clue. So all these stories I'm telling you all need to get wise out of these stories and realize when he was working on the wife and he was doing his witchcraft, one of the symptoms you would realize when people start bewitching you, depression, anxiety, fear. The wife started getting sick. Mysterious illness is a high sign. That's one of the number one signs when they are bewitching you. You will find you get mysteriously sick. Miss Nefertiti, she was mysteriously sick a few times. Doctors even thought it was cancer. And the wizard and them, they started spreading the message that Miss Nefertiti had cancer. Now back to the wife. The wife of the wizard, Miss Rowe got very sick. She started getting sick. And she started having abscesses in her vagina. Now, Mr. Wizard, he was working on Mrs. Rowe. there is something in Africa called money ritual. What you can do using all these spiritual animals, the cats and the snakes and all of that, and you can do these things and you can sacrifice woman womb and stuff to, you know, satanic demonic entities, and you can trade the womb of a woman to get material gain. This is what Mr. Wizzard was practicing. Now, while Mr. Wizzard was practicing his practices, because these girls, Miss Nefertiti and Miss Rowe, they was not Christian, they didn't know God, they maybe knew demons and scared of demons and devil, but they didn't know God. And they didn't really know devil neither. They just heard about him and stuff, you know. So these girls was just existing in life and living their life. Now, both women, this wizard man, he was trying to control the both women in the house, telling them what to eat, what to wear, where to go, where not to go, what to cook, what not to cook, everything. He was controlling everything, from the color of the kitchen to the color of the bathroom, the color of the bed sheets. Mr. Wizzard was controlling everything. His wife, Miss Rose, she was very submissive. She submitted nicely. But Mrs. Nefertiti, she was a rebellion. Miss Nefertiti was always rebellious, and she was saying things like, "You are not my husband. That is your wife." Miss Nefertiti was always rebellious. So Miss Nefertiti was still doing what she wanted. If he said to Miss Nefertiti, "Don't smoke here," Miss Nefertiti is going to do the exact thing. She's going to smoke there. And he would know, because that cat would tell him everything what Miss Nefertiti is doing. Now, moving on. Did I say yes? Miss Rowe became very, very sick. Miss Rowe started having abscess in her private area when he started doing the rituals to sacrifice Miss Rowe's womb. The first thing that happened was she started getting very sick. And nurses and doctors used to come to the house to attend to Miss Rowe, to burst the abscess and to treat Miss Rowe. And eventually, Mr. Wizzard would stop the nurses and the doctors, and he said to the nurse and doctors he would take care of Miss Rowe, he would look after his wife. So the nurses and the doctors stopped coming to the house to look after Mrs. Rowe. So the wizard now, he have got Miss Rowe completely in the hands of the devil now. Miss Rowe is at the hands of the devil. She's at the mercy of the devil, thinking the devil is her husband, looking after her. This time he is trying to complete his assignment so that he can get money from spiritual entities. So yes, eventually, by the grace of God, God saved Miss Rowe's life. And Miss Rowe left the house, back to the big house now that he bought. When he got the big house and he's trying to carry Miss Nefertiti in the big house, Miss Nefertiti refused. He did carry Miss Nefertiti to the house. He showed Miss Nefertiti which bedroom was theirs, which bedroom was the children's. One of the bedroom was covered in spider, as ornament. Did I tell y'all that Miss Nefertiti children, he was force feeding Miss Nefertiti children with food? It seems like the food he was trying to give to Miss Nefertiti children, what the children was rejecting that food, and he was trying to force feed it. He wanted everybody to sit there and eat all the food, until one day the child he and Miss Nefertiti had vomit in the food. And Miss Nefertiti was fighting, trying to get herself and get her children out of this situation. This is one of the reasons why Miss Nefertiti did not go into the big house that the wizard bought. Because Miss Nefertiti told herself, if She is not in the wizard house, and the wizard is trying to control her. He wanted Miss Nefertiti to put her money into his account. Miss Nefertiti refused that one. She was smart where that one was concerned, because Miss Nefertiti, as I said, she knew that her children only had her to depend on. The children didn't, their fathers wasn't around. She was a single mother. So Miss Nefertiti was not putting any money into his account. So yes, Miss Nefertiti tried her best to escape. She tried her best to escape. There was one day this Mr. Wizzard, one day he beat Miss Nefertiti's daughter and dragged her down the stairs. Miss Nefertiti wasn't there. Miss Nefertiti was at work, but her sister was around, and the sister and the daughter phoned Miss Nefertiti and let Miss Nefertiti know what the man have done. He've dragged her daughter down the stairs. So this was it for Miss Nefertiti. Miss Nefertiti stood up and she went home. She gathered herself, gathered her stuff, and the Monday morning, Miss Nefertiti went to the government house, and Miss Nefertiti got a government house and refused his offer of that big house. And another thing, when they're doing rituals and they get their big house, one of the things that Miss Nefertiti described is the house is very cold and airy. It don't feel at home at all. It don't have the presence of a home. It feels like a big dead ghost town. Right, let's see where we are. So all of this was planned by Miss Jezebel. Miss Jezebel assigned the wizard to a job to shut Miss Nefertiti up about this story. You see, Miss Jezebel and them, Miss Jezebel, her sister, her mother, they had already killed somebody for exposing their secret, or trying to expose their secret. Somebody had already died for that, and somehow they knew Miss Nefertiti was going to be the one to expose them. Mr. Wizzard even told Miss Nefertiti before that she would have been the one to be the end of him. So somehow they knew. I don't know if their spiritual entities came in their dream and told them and all of that. Yes. The wizard also, eventually Miss Nefertiti was working. She was working as a nursing assistant. Eventually Miss Nefertiti met this guy. This guy was also a friend of the wizard. So one day Miss Nefertiti went to London, and my battery is low. One day Miss Nefertiti went to London, and the guy, the wizard friend, Miss Nefertiti met up with him. He was going the same direction as Miss Nefertiti. So she had a left with this guy. And the guy said to Miss Nefertiti, why don't you do something with your life? Start up a business and stuff. Miss Nefertiti said, yeah, that's a good idea, but I haven't got the money to do it. I got the ideas, but no money. So the guy said to Miss Nefertiti, when you go to Wales, when you go home, go and look for a property, and he will invest the money and they'll go into business. So Miss Nefertiti, she went up to the wizard house where she was living, and she went up there and she thought about what the guy said to her, but she didn't take it serious because she had met a few men who talk a few talks, and it's normally not fruitful. So Miss Nefertiti did not take it serious at all. So on the Monday or the Tuesday, a couple days after the weekend, the guy would phone Miss Nefertiti and he said to her, have you found a place? Did you look for a place? Miss Nefertiti said no, she haven't found a place, she haven't looked for a place. So the guy said he's serious, and he convinced Miss Nefertiti he's serious. So eventually Miss Nefertiti found a place to do business. They started a business off license. Miss Nefertiti got her sisters employed to do the work and stuff. Miss Nefertiti was the manager of the place, so she was the off-license holder, and her sisters was running the shop. Now, when the wizard realized what is going on with Miss Nefertiti and this guy, when he realized that everything is in action, it is alive. They are really serious businesses there. They are cleaning up the business and putting everything into order, cash register. Now, this guy, the wizard, immediately he went and do the same. He went and got himself a shop as well. And now he asked Miss Nefertiti to go and get the permission to be the license holder so that they can trade alcohol, because he see that Miss Nefertiti is doing it with this guy. They have started the business. Miss Nefertiti went to court and get a certificate to trade alcohol. So he saw Miss Nefertiti is doing it with this guy. So immediately he decided he's going to do the same. He got a shop now and he asked Miss Nefertiti to go and get the license to run the shop for him. Now he's telling Miss Nefertiti, stop working where you are and come and work with him because you is his partner. Miss Nefertiti refused. Miss Nefertiti said, no, Cardiff it's the front line. It's the city. It's beautiful down there. But where he wanted Miss Nefertiti to go and work is behind God Back, a very racist place, terrible, terrible, disgusting area. Behind God Back in the valleys, in the bush. Miss Nefertiti refused because Miss Nefertiti wanted the city life. Miss Nefertiti wanted the city life. So Miss Nefertiti got her shop with the guy. Miss Nefertiti focused. She's focused. She focused on this shop with the guy. The guy told Miss Nefertiti, hey, you got to name the shop. What are you going to name the shop? Miss Nefertiti look around. She look left. She look right. She look in the mirror. She look at her sisters. Miss Nefertiti said, okay, I think we're going to name it Beauty Flex. The shop started, the name of the shop was in Cardiff. It was called Beauty Flex. Why did Miss Nefertiti name it Beauty Flex? Because only beauty was flexing there. Oh, Jesus, Lord. Yes, so Miss Nefertiti named the shop Beauty Flex, and Miss Nefertiti and her sisters, they're in the front line. The wizard got a shop as well. Wizard don't have nobody to work with him, but the wizard is trying to trap Miss Nefertiti. Every day he's telling Miss Nefertiti, come, Miss Nefertiti, come and go to the off license with him. He's going to the off license. He's spending £100. He's picking up one of this, one of that, one of that. When you see all these Indian and these Arab and these white people, they are pushing their trolley and they get tons of stuff because it's called cash and carry. He is going and he's getting 1 case of beer, 1 case of Coke, 1 case of this, 1 case of that, 1 packet of cigarette, 1 packet of this. This man, I thought, what kind of poverty situation is this, man? I am mad in my mind. I'm feeling trapped. Yes, Miss Nefertiti, mad. She's feeling trapped, my people. He's picking up 1 case of this, 1 case of that, 1 case of the other. We're going to continue our story. We're not going to delete, we don't delete. We're going to keep the stories. Who catch it, catch it. Who didn't catch it, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. I'm having fun doing these stories. You see how this life is? The first time these stories was done, it was done in so much anger and stuff, so much emotion of rage and stuff. Now it is done in humor. It's just laughable. It's laughable now. So yes, Miss Nefertiti, now this guy, Mr. Wizzard, is trying to trap Miss Nefertiti. Every morning he's telling Miss Nefertiti, come and drive me to the cash and carry. Because why is he asking Miss Nefertiti to drive him to the cash and carry? You see, if Miss Nefertiti was wise and spiritual, Miss Nefertiti would have seen what she was meant to see a long time ago. But the witchcraft is what blinded Miss Nefertiti's eyes. You know why he was asking Miss Nefertiti to drive him to the cash and carry every morning, and Miss Nefertiti was getting tired of driving this Mr. Wizzard to the cash and carry. The reason he was asking Miss Nefertiti, because he was banned, my people. He was banned. He was banned from driving because the guy was illegal. He was a wreck. You see, all the witchcraft he was doing and stuff, it came a time after they're doing all the witchcraft, the spirit does take them over. So the spirit took him over. He started drinking. He started running prostitutes. He started just being crazy. So this is why he was banned from driving. I got my book here. He was banned from driving. So this is why he wanted Miss Nefertiti drive him here, drive him to cash and carry, drive him to cash and carry, pick him up, drive him here. They would. Oh, that's another way of trapping Miss Nefertiti, using Miss Nefertiti time to suit him. When Miss Nefertiti could have been flying as like a bird, doing her own thing, he had Miss Nefertiti trapped in many ways. So he's buying his one, and then on top of this, people, after he buy his one thing and his one case of beer and his one ever, and he's running his off license. Where he's running the off license, as I said, it's a very racist place behind God's back. The people don't want him there. They are putting stuff in his car. They are putting glue, super glue on his lock. They are just doing him wickedness. The people in the area, every day is something new. So all of this is, the guy was moving with demons. Another thing, you see, when the police banned this guy from driving, when they ban, not the police, the judge, well, of course, the police is going to lock you up and then you go to court and the judge will ban you. When the judge banned the guy from driving, Nefertiti was in the court at that day. The judge even told the guy that he should not, he was even banned from sitting in the front seat, passenger seat. I never heard such ban before. Oh my goodness, when I was reading and doing up the stories, I thought, oh my goodness, I've never heard such. I know they can ban you from driving, but this guy, the judge went a bit further. The judge banned him from sitting in the front seat of a car. He was not allowed. I don't know how the judge would know if he did or didn't. But anyway, let's move on. So yes, the wizard, he got a shop trying, but Miss Nefertiti was focused on the other shop she was running in the city. Miss Nefertiti wasn't leaving the city to go up in the bush. But all of that is manipulation and traps, you know, because they saw Miss Nefertiti destiny and her stars was bright. So they were trying to dim it, kill it, or just block it off completely. So yes, we're not going to keep this one too long. I'm just giving you all a rundown about the wizard, how Miss Nefertiti's life was hell for a number of years with this wizard. I told you all Miss Nefertiti, she was working as a nurse assistant in hospitals and different private homes and stuff. So one of the private home that Miss Nefertiti, I told you all also that Miss Nefertiti, she was looking to escape. Miss Nefertiti was always looking to escape. But at the time when Miss Nefertiti was pregnant, she couldn't run with a big belly. Very far could she? So Miss Nefertiti waited carefully, and when Miss Nefertiti had her child, and Miss Nefertiti child with the wizard was born on Christmas Eve. At that time, Miss Nefertiti thought, hallelujah, Jesus, her baby Jesus is here. Because at that time, Miss Nefertiti used to celebrate the Christmas and stuff. So you know what it is to have a baby arriving at Christmas Eve? So Miss Nefertiti started plotting how to get away from the wizard. An opportunity arose. An opportunity arose for Miss Nefertiti to escape while she was working as the nursing assistant. The nursing assistant job, Miss Nefertiti was doing that job. All her bosses and managers, everybody in that job, they were all lesbians. The manager and everybody that run the job, they were all lesbos. So when they saw Miss Nefertiti applied for the job, immediately Miss Nefertiti got the job. One of the lesbian young lady immediately befriended Miss Nefertiti. Miss Nefertiti and this lesbian girl, well, Miss Nefertiti was looking for outlet a long time ago. Miss Nefertiti was looking for an avenue, somebody to talk to, somebody to, you know, voice out her pain to. And, you know, women love to talk. That's why women, a lot of women and women, they're best friends, because women love to talk. So Miss Nefertiti started speaking to the lesbian girl. The lesbian girl, of course, is attracted to Miss Nefertiti. Let's call that lesbian girl Susan. So Miss Susan, the lesbian girl, who is also working on the job, they are working as nursing assistant in a private company where the managers is also lesbians, the people who's run. So you could imagine. So use your imagination. And they are looking after some vulnerable, disabled adults. So, but it's young adults in this nursing home. So the first opportunity Miss Nefertiti got to escape, Miss Nefertiti escaped. She was gone. One day, remember I told y'all Miss Nefertiti refused the big house with the wizard, and Miss Nefertiti, she was wise. She accepted the government council house. So where the government council house was, it was closer to the city than the big house that the wizard was trying to take Miss Nefertiti to. So one day, the wizard, he was very calculated. Like, this wizard is like, he had his Tokoloshhe cat, like that cat was with him 24/7. You know, they talk about monitoring spirit and familiar spirit. This cat was telling Miss Nefertiti couldn't do nothing without this wizard catching her. He would catch her. She couldn't make a move out of line. So one day Miss Nefertiti made a move out of line. Miss Nefertiti and the lesbian woman, Miss Susan, who she met on work, and they have got on like a house on fire. Miss Nefertiti and Miss Susan is visiting Miss Nefertiti house. One thing leads to another, and Miss Nefertiti and Mrs. Susan is in an abomination. They are doing an abominable thing. In the eyes of God, it's an abomination what they are doing. Next thing you know, the wizard walks in and catch Miss Nefertiti red-handed. Miss Nefertiti is ever so happy. Miss Nefertiti is ever so happy because that's how Miss Nefertiti got rid of him. Now, the lady Miss Susan, Miss Nefertiti really didn't like that lady Miss Susan very much, you know, as a partnership. Because the lady Miss Susan, she was very dykey, and she was also an alcoholic. The dykiness was not a problem for Mrs. Nefertiti, because Mrs. Nefertiti is all female, so she didn't mind the male looking of Miss Susan. But what Miss Nefertiti was watching was the character and the behavior, because even though Miss Nefertiti was under some bewitched powers, some half of Miss Nefertiti brain was working right. So Miss Nefertiti was looking at Susan's behavior, Miss Susan's behavior, and Miss Susan was drinking a whole 24 beers in one day. Every day, Miss Susan was drinking 24 beers every day. So Miss Nefertiti realized there is a serious problem with this woman. You cannot have such a being around your children. So as soon as Mrs. Nefertiti realized that the wizard was completely gone, he is gone, he believed that she is with Miss Susan and he's gone. When Miss Nefertiti realized he's gone, Miss Nefertiti got rid of Mrs. Susan, and Miss Nefertiti ended up with another lesbian girl on the very same job. This one had a better character, better, ambition. This one was more of a better character. Let's call this one named Amanda. So Miss Nefertiti got with the second lady, Mrs. Amanda. Mrs. Amanda now was very likey, boyish, tomboyish, and she was very defensive and protective of Mrs. Nefertiti and Mrs. Nefertiti's children. Mrs. Amanda, she was very protective of her lovely dark friend, Miss Nefertiti, and Miss Nefertiti's children. Mrs. Amanda used to try her very best and protect and provide Miss Nefertiti and Mr. Nefertiti's children. So when the wizard would appear, on the scene now, because the wizard did not go away at all. The wizard is always there. Miss Nefertiti just got rid of him for a while. The wizard would show back up. When the wizard would show back up, Miss Nefertiti is with Mrs. Amanda, and the wizard is giving Miss Nefertiti instructions, and Miss Nefertiti, she seemed to be under a spirit of fear at that time. Miss Nefertiti was very fearful of the wizard. At that time, maybe because at that time, Mrs. Nefertiti, she was not in God, she did not know herself, and she was not walking in her power. So Miss Nefertiti was very fearful of the wizard at that time. He just had was to go in Miss Nefertiti's presence, and Miss Nefertiti would be, you could feel the fear of the wizard. So, we got the book. So yes, the wizard did not go away. The wizard kept coming and kept coming and kept coming back in Miss Nefertiti's life, because remember, they have a child together, and remember, he said to Miss Nefertiti he needed to have a bond with Miss Nefertiti for life. So he was making full advantage of that bond he had, because the child was a minor, a baby, a young child, 3-4 years. So he's back and forth. His excuse is he needs to see his son. That was his excuse. So Miss Nefertiti was giving him access, but supervised access, because Miss Nefertiti never trusted the man. And Miss Nefertiti was a very protective woman for her children, because as I told you all in part 1, 2, and 3, and maybe others, that Miss Nefertiti herself have been abused. So she was doing everything to keep her children safe. And Miss Nefertiti did not understand spiritual things. She didn't know God, but her spirit understood more than she did. Miss Nefertiti never trusted the guy. She never trusted the man at all. So yes, Miss Nefertiti, she never trusted the guy. Where were we now? So yes, Mrs. Amanda, the girlfriend of Mrs. Nefertiti, Mrs. Amanda used to stand up to the wizard. If the wizard shows up and trying to bully Miss Nefertiti, Mrs. Amanda used to stand up and defend it. I will tell you in the next chapter what they done to Mrs. Amanda. Because anybody goes around Mrs. Nefertiti, the wizard would have, he dealt with them, they wouldn't have get away easy. So in the next part, part 8, I would tell you all what the wizard done to Mrs. Amanda. Okay, people, stay blessed. Peace and love to you all. We're keeping all the stories nice and real. And I hope you all get the spiritual message from the stories. Be careful of your dreams. Be careful what you eat. Be careful of your panties, your underwear. Trust nobody. Sometimes, some of us, you are sleeping with your enemy. Right. Stay blessed, my people. Peace and love. We'll be back with... What part are we on now? I think this is part 7. Let me have a look. I think this is part 7 here. And so we'll be back with part 8. Yeah, we'll be back with part 8. People, you're still blessed. Peace and love to you all. God bless you. Bye.